Coming to you live from Darshan Studios, it's Zinc Comics Exposition with your host, Brian Payne. That's me. We now join Pirate Radio Theater, already in progress. Hamlet is a quiet coastal village where the weirdo meter has a tendency to spike on a regular basis. Hidden beneath the surface of this quaint seaside haven lies dark secrets, buried pirate treasure, and a lost civilization. Phantom ships are often seen off the coast, and some say there is a paranormal phenomenon pervading the area. And then there is the enduring mystery of our local masked avenger. Who is the Red Mosquito? I, for one, would like to know. Now come, gather round and listen to my whispered secret tales. I know my name is Ulysses St. Augustine, but I can't remember ever being lost at sea. I only recall waking up on Front Beach 10 years later with a dog licking my face. My therapist, Dr. Nina Lear, thinks that the reoccurring dreams I'm having are actually my repressed memories finally resurfacing. I can only hope that the nightmare ends soon.
Good morning, Cosmic Hamlet. This is Joyce James on WKFL 90.7 AM with your local news. 1 year ago, our very own real-life superhero retired after police issued a warrant for his arrest. I can't help but wonder whatever happened to the Red Mosquito. Where is the Red Mosquito? Let's go to the phones. We've a caller from Siliatka on the line. Hello, you're on WKFL Pirate Radio.
Since when is a man that dresses up as a bug deemed newsworthy? He doesn't have any powers, and he's never actually fought crime, and yet they still call him a superhero.
Red Mosquito deters thieves, breaks up bar fights, and helps feed the homeless. What's the problem? Someone needs to stand up for what is right. The state could use a few more superheroes. I find the entire real-life superhero movement fascinating. I mean, they took the neighborhood watch to a new level. I recently saw a clip of this dude on YouTube yelling at some tweakers. This is a drug-free zone. The video had like over 8,000 views.
Welcome to the show. I am joined tonight by the vibrant velvet voice of my lovely wife, Skywalker Payne. Good evening, Sky.
Hi, Brian. So we're gonna talk. we're gonna talk about the comic book we read this week, which is called "You Don't Know Jack, Two-Fisted Comic Store Manager," and it is by features the spirit of Dave Sims and Carson, the totally inclusive hand of the former patriarchy. And this is a different type of comic book.
Okay, I want to break in here. This book, Carson Grubaugh took over drawing The Strange Death of Alex Raymond when Dave Sim has wrist troubles and has trouble drawing at this point. So, but he had, I think, 3 to 4 issues. I think 4 issues of a comic, The Strange Death of Alex Raymond. And he had they were going to be published as individual issues, and he had the covers already done and all that. And then they decided to publish them as graphic novels, as a series of graphic novels. At least that was the idea. That has since gone the way of the dodo too. But the what Carson was hired to do, I'm hearing a little bit of an echo, Sky. Do you have your earphones on?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just double checking. What Carson was brought in to do initially was to do bridging sequences between the issues that were already done, and the conceit or the concept was that it would be a comic store manager would find these comics that they did not know anything about, and that these comics would they would then read them. So it would be like little bridging sequences in between each issue of a comic store owner in the comic store. Carson Grubaugh is also a professor and teaches painting, I believe, or art in some capacity at a college level. And I believe that Jack, the star of this comic, was his student. And then so they used her for photo reference for these bridging sequences. And then out of that grew the idea to do this comic as a standalone one issue. I believe it was Carson's idea initially to kind of have a dialogue between Jack Van Dyne, the two-fisted comic store manager in the title of this book, and Dave Sim, the creator of Cerebus, Glamour Puss, and the author of The Strange Death of Alex Raymond. So that was a little preamble of how this comic came about. And because it is a dialogue between Dave Sim and Jack Van Dyne, it has a male-female dynamic. And I thought, well, let's have the wife read it and see what she thinks. So give us your initial thoughts now, Skywalker.
Well, it's a strange book. It's well drawn. I mean, the drawing just totally floored me. The detail, the pictures, the strange pictures. And I like most of it. I like the beginning stories. I was laughing. But then towards the end, at a certain point, it kind of changes. And so I have some questions too about it. But it just kind of towards the end, it wasn't as entertaining to me. And I don't know exactly. It just changed to me.
Okay. The artwork is stellar. There's a reason Carson took over for Dave on the photorealism in Strange Death of Alex Raymond. He's got skills, mad skills. And when I heard you, I was in the room while you were reading the issue, and you were cracking up and laughing out loud way more than I ever did during the issue. So, you say you have a few questions. What might those questions be?
Well, let me say the things that made me laugh, and I can't remember specifically, were a lot of times her reactions and her words to some of the male female things. They were just funny. But first of all, the first question is about this tech guy. Is was the tech guy pages really drawn by another guy or drawn by Carson? And tech guy is just a made up character.
The tech guy is a real guy. He is in the uh he does help with a lot of the digital stuff that Dave's doing now. So he's a real guy. I was wondering whether he drew those pages or not, but it looks like Carson to me. Only he could answer that question. So I'm not sure about that. But yeah, he was in there kind of reminding people that, yeah, there is a strange death of Alex Raymond. So that's coming up. So this was kind of meant to be a commercial for the or a promo for that issue, the bigger work, The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, but it became its own thing. And I've heard tell that Dave had some notion that he was going to sell this as a TV series at some point. So he had a lot of faith in this concept. So again, keep going. What else did you have to say?
What about this Avin Jacques? There's two sections of it. It's totally bizarre. Uh,
Okay,
and it's like an action hero thing in the middle of, in not even in the middle, in different section of the
okay.
discussions.
That's a little inside baseball for anyone who's not a comic fan, so I can see where you were confused by that. Um, in the 90s, there was a thing called Bad Girl Comics, and that's basically drawing Jack as if she was a image comic bad girl action comic. So that's what that was. Those two little sections were her as if she had been an a image comic bad girl of the 90s.
Okie dokie. Let me see. I think
Anything else?
there was something. Yeah, I should have written it down. There was one footnote.
That's okay.
That because they yeah and he used footnotes too, and I guess my question is this a kind of usual thing in comics to have footnotes like we've had in the last two issues?
It's becoming more common. A lot of times in the back of comics now, they're annotated like novels, but it's more when they're dealing with more realistic concepts or historic, where they have to do notation. So, but and why did you think at the end that it just got a little out of hand for you?
I don't know, it just wasn't funny to me anymore. I really don't know why, because I'm looking back through it and trying to see where I kind of lost it. Oh, what I did like, and I did have another question here. This chapter was trigger warning Islam 9.8, stippling 7. Now, this is the picture of all these different people. So he reuses the same picture in here in different ways, right?
Correct, correct.
And he did that once with Jack in another chapter.
It took me a long time to realize it, but he uses the same picture of Jack quite often, actually.
Okay. But in
Okay.
one, it's like definitely the same ones because they have them going in lined up each other. I think once he started getting into these Renaissance pictures here, in fact, after the big group of We're All the World, the diverse world, with the stippling, it kind of lost its thing
Okay.
for me. I don't know why. Actually, it was
Well,
after.
actually, I think it picks up towards the end myself. So, that again, that's the male female dynamic. I actually credited this comic as my favorite comic of last year. So, I can't recommend it enough. And you enjoyed it, correct?
Oh, yeah, it was interesting reading. It was funny. At least the parts of it. And the drawing is excellent. I mean, it's just like looking at the art was worth it alone. So
Well, you know who would love to hear that?
I
This
suppose
guy
the
right
art.
here.
What?
Come in, Carson.
Oh, he came
Hey,
in.
hey,
Are you there, Carson?
yeah,
He's
hey Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, we
yeah.
can.
Sorry, I
Surprise,
was
surprise, Sky.
fortunately I didn't pop in until a couple minutes ago. So all that crap that I'm assuming you talked, I didn't hear it.
Well, you can hear. I'll send you the link, and you can get mad at us later. But
Yeah, I was like dealing with dinner and stuff, and and then I checked my email. I was like, oh my god, I'm missing it. I better go run in there. I'm sad I missed out on the first. It looks like 10 minutes or so.
well, that's good. That's good.
So okay, Brian, you asked him the question you couldn't answer for me.
What was the question, Sky?
What did you draw the tech guy too? Even though he says he's drawing it,
The
the tech guy pages with the Renaissance woman, and it's the tech guy who said he had the pages.
Oh no, Sean drew those.
He
Sean
did draw 'em.
Robinson. Yeah.
Okay.
He's Sean Robinson is the guy who like takes the artwork and then prepares it for printing, which is why the books look so nice, is because like all the little teeny tiny lines, Sean knows how to make those show up. Most people those would just disappear. So yeah, Sean can also draw. He's doing his own. He's illustrated a couple books himself, and he's thinking about doing. After we published Strange Death of Alex Raymond, he was talking to me about an idea for his own series. So yeah, that's all Sean for sure.
Oh well, that's good. That's cool.
Yeah,
Having an artist be able to prepare your stuff for printing is an added boon.
Well,
yeah,
he's
he
got
knows what he's
skills.
looking at.
Yeah, he's got skills because I credited you there. She asked me that question, and I said I'm not sure. It kind of looks like Carson, but I don't know. So that's good. So it's been a long time, brother. I'm glad you made the show. What can you tell us about You Don't Know Jack? How did it do for you? Was it a good experience? Tell us whatever you want to say about this book in particular.
Oh yeah, it was an awesome experience. We did really well with it. We did like I think about 22,000 total. I mean that's like before we factor out how much it costs to print it and ship it all over the place and stuff. But
Okay.
I think that like exceeded our expectations. We all made some good money out of it. We were able to send Jack like a quarter of the profits that we made. So that was good, for her.
That's one question I was wondering. How did she, once she saw the book, was she happy about it? Was she like, you drew my wrong side? Or how did she feel about the thing after it was all done?
She seemed pretty happy with it. She was
Yeah.
supportive. She did an interview with me during the campaign to help promote the book, and seemed pretty pleased with it. She was always very just like, I trust you, do whatever. She was never like, I wanted her to come in and like have her rebuttals to Dave, and she was like, no, I trust you to take care of it. Like, so yeah, I think she was happy. She made a couple $1,000s out of it. Yeah.
And she's a star. She's forever. What was it? Angelique or Angela Jock?
Oh, Avenjock. Yeah.
Avenge Jacques, yes. Sky
Yeah.
was asking about that bad girl art, and it was hard to explain to a non-comic reader. I was like, she's like, "What's with this?" And I was trying to tell her, well, in the '90s there was this bad girl Image Comics thing, and so can you expound on that at all?
Yeah, that's about where I popped in, was listening. Yeah, the Avenjock was, I don't remember how that was mine. That's the one thing in there that's mine all the way through that Dave was like he didn't want anything to do with it. And I just thought it was funny and I want to keep it in there. That's because we had on the cover, that came from Rob Liefeld's Avengeline book, and there's a notorious cover where his drawing of the girl's body is just so it's the drawing that's on the cover. It's just so structurally impossible. Like this poor girl's back would just break in half. But that book was called Avengeline, and so I thought Avenjack like sounded good, and then I realized that for some reason I tied that to the philosopher Jacques Derrida. So all of the dialogue in there are just quotes from Jacques Derrida, who's kind of like, yeah, the bad boy philosopher, I guess.
Okay. I was wondering about some of that too, because I was like, okay, this is a different name. Is it her maiden name? Is it, like, were you Frenching up her maiden name? Now I know, all that
Yeah.
intellectual stuff you just said went right over my head, but now I have to reread it. But I kind of thought that this sounds like philosophy or like something, and I know you're a professor and an intellectual cat, so I just kind of assumed, this is for people smarter than me. But anyway,
the quotes that I picked I put them in there because I feel like his philosophy is that at the root of the things that Dave tends to take issues with. I'm not sure that Dave knows that, but he has a good instinct about there's a rotten philosophical core that he's lashing out against, and I don't think he goes all the way down to the core, which is part of the problem with how people respond to him. So Derrida is, especially the quote that's talking about, it's the one where she's punching a hole through the guy. That's to me as clear as I could find of him talking about his desire to topple Western society. And people don't often understand that was what his philosophical goal was. He's a Trojan horse that's trying to topple Western society, and that's the most explicit statement I've found. So I put that in the book. I don't know how many people extract that out of it because he's a god awful writer, and that's on purpose. He purposely makes what Dave calls baffle gab, but it is pretty explicit.
now a lot of the chapters start off with actual Facebook posts from Jack, correct? That initiates the dialogue in some of the chapters.
Yeah, those are real. Those are I just, like I told Dave, I said she puts these things that are funny, and they're the type of things I know would really send Dave into a tizzy. Like the first one about periods and menstrual blood. I know that's exactly the type of quote unquote feminist thing that he would respond dramatically to. So yeah, those are all, if it's like a quote in quotes or if it's a Facebook, that's stuff Jack posted, and I sent them to Dave, and then he sent me back the stories.
Okay. Whose idea was this book? Was this your idea? Did Dave come up with this idea? Who instigated You Don't Know Jack?
I think I instigated it. I think what I said was because he started doing the Cerebus in Hell, and he was initially doing it as online strips. And I said, hey, we should do this with Jack. We have all these drawings of her. We can just cut and paste the heads over and over like he does with Cerebus and Hell, and then can kind of have you and Jack argue about politics as an online promotion for Strange Death of Alex Raymond. So my idea was that we didn't do any more drawing. And then he came up with the title, and I came up with the cover that's on there was the initial thing I sent him, kind of showing him my idea for how the three of us would argue back and forth. So that dynamic was my idea, that they would be at like opposite ends of the spectrum kind of, and that I would be in the middle, just like
kind of like today's show. We got my wife and me, and there you are in the middle again.
Well, am I in the middle? I don't know. I didn't hear enough.
You're fine. Actually, I was in the room. I said this earlier. I don't know if you heard, but I was in the room when the wife was reading it, and she was laughing out loud and giggling more than I ever did. So she was getting jokes I was missing, I think.
Oh, good. So, Sky, you enjoyed it then?
Yes, I enjoyed reading it. Like I said, the beginnings of it were really funny to me. Somehow it wasn't so funny after the last, your last story of.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't find it as funny, but I love the art. It's just like, wow, how could you do this? I really like looking at it as well as reading it. And some of the things that she said, it was just cracking me up. It really did. It cracked me up.
Okay, good. That was the worry, is that, and we got lucky when Dave walked away. I got to edit it a little bit more. But I was very worried that she didn't get hers as much, so I'm glad it came across that she did.
Yeah, and it might be that there were things that women would get that guys wouldn't get.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, Brian, like, what was your expectation? Like, why? Because you set this up as like you wanted to see what Sky's reaction was. Like, what were you hoping for?
I've just been trying. We're going to be doing some more reading on comics, and I just wanted to kind of get a few comics in to kind of see how we can do this. Okay. And before we jump into going through Tezuka's Buddha 8-volume set. And so I've been trying to get like comics that I thought would instigate a good dialogue between me and Sky. And also, she, as a non-comic reader, a comic that she might like. And I thought I was kind of trying to get the same kind of dynamic that you had between Jack and Dave, between Sky and I, but on a much, different level. I just thought that she could, that the book touches a lot of topics that we could have expounded on,
And it sounded like you kind of wound up liking the back end, and Sky liked the front end of the book.
Yeah. I liked the whole book more than, as you know, I was a little dubious of the book. And
very.
When I got it, I was like reading it, and I was like, well, it's actually kind of funny. It's coming, with Jack in there and you moderating, it kind of comes off cool. And then towards the end, I mean, Jack just started tearing him a new one at one point, and I just was cracking up at that. I mean, I love Dave, but occasionally we all need someone to tear us a new one, and I thought she did good at that. And now you did bring up something I wasn't going to bring up, but you mentioned Dave walking away. What do you want to say about that, if anything?
I'm glad he did, because that allowed the book to come out in time. Like, if he would have continued to, I was deferring to him in that this was supposed to precede The Strange Death of Alex Raymond as a promo, and so we weren't going to release it until we were ready to release Strange Death of Alex Raymond. But if that would have continued to be the case, the book would have been irrelevant by the time it came out. Like, we snuck it in right at the last moment. Like, if this had come out now with Trump out of office, like, I wish it would have come out in 2017, like right after we finished it and right after he got inaugurated. I think it was more relevant then. So, yeah, I'm really glad that he walked away from Strange Death. I mean, it's sad. I like to see him finish the book, but in terms of You Don't Know Jack, it worked out in that it let us get it out while it was still relevant. And it let me go back and make some tweaks on some of the, like there's the digital. I don't know if you got the digital download that has Dave's version, but you can see there have been like some internal debate between me and him about what lines were funny, or I'd try and make sure Jack had a little bit more like comeback, and like in the purple towel story, his original version was really, really funny, but I just wanted her to make the joke about him framing his dick as a weapon. I thought, like, she can't just look exasperated. She has to be thinking something. And then when I put that joke in there, he totally rewrote the end of it in a way that just, it wasn't as funny to me. His original version was super funny, and I didn't know why the one little joke I made, like, made him course correct. And so I got to put back in the original ending just with my one little addition.
Cool.
And so I think it's funnier. I know Dave disagrees, but that his version is on record as the digital file. So,
well, that Jack comeback is one of my favorite parts of the whole book. Did he just the thing about dick as a weapon thing? Yeah. So, okay, what is the status of Alex Raymond, Strange Death of Alex Raymond, or do you want to even go into that?
All signs are looking like July.
Great.
Kickstarter for a like signed and numbered edition with the book plate that I'm working on right now. At the same time that ends and is being shipped. So it'll be a 350 some odd 360. It's 352 pages of art. So I don't know how big the actual book will be, but hardcover, all in one, like finished with my ending. Sean's working on the cover and it looks really good. We're fine tuning that. Diamond has, pretty much said they'll work with us to distribute it to comic shops and bookstores. We're thinking about purchasing ads. So, yeah, the goal is kickstart the limited edition version that has the signed and numbered book plate. I wanted to get Dave to draw half of the book plate, but he said no, that's not worth his time financially, even though he'll get a third of the book. But he said he would sign anything that we sent him. So it'll be signed supposedly will be signed by both me and Dave. And then there will be at the time the Kickstarter ends and we start fulfilling that, then a just regular edition, but still hardcover, same book, just without the book plate and the signatures, that will be going through Diamond to stores, anyone that wants to order it. And then me and Sean are really trying to make a push into like the bookstore market as well. We think that the book deserves to be the kind of thing that someone who doesn't know about it stumbles on and thinks, wow, this is really beautiful. We don't want to just,
it is.
we don't want it to be just like the 250 people that order it on Kickstarter, which, I'm assuming that's about what it'll be, because that's like the core audience that we're super appreciative of their support. But I think the work itself deserves, like, the people are never, that's why they're never like go trade that in, and no one's ever going to find it in a bookstore or something. I think it's important that the work be for some kids 5 years from now. and be inspired. So that's really the goal there, more than like trying to point sales and everything. So yeah, July I think is the I mean, not official yet, but that's been the back and forth.
That's a good news. I'm really glad and happy for you. I'm looking forward to the completed Strange Death of Alex Raymond. And as I said already, you don't know Jack, Two-Fisted Comic Store Manager, my favorite comic of 2020. So
I'm so glad that it made that. Jim Rugg reached out to buy a copy of the promo edition, the fundraiser edition of Strange Death Volume 1. And he said, oh, by the way, my friend Brian's in a Facebook group, and he said this is his favorite comic book of the year. And I said, no way. He told me he didn't even want to read it.
Well, you won me over. What can I say, you know? Anyway, that's gonna end the show, but don't go away, Carson. I want to talk to you, okay?
Yeah, happy to.
Okay.
And definitely send me the link. I want to hear all what Sky had to say. I'm sorry I missed that. I was really curious about that.
I wasn't sure if in the green room you could hear us or not, but I'm glad you could. Okay, so just give me a minute and I'll be right back to you.
Nice
Great.
talking with you, Carson.
Nice meeting you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that concludes another episode of Zinc Comics Exposition. Tune in next time, and until then, think Zinc.